And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn and Earn series with CoinDCX. And today we have CEO and founder of a really interesting project by the name of UnMarshal with us. And my name is Akshay Singh. I'm the community manager at CoinDCX. And it is lovely to have you all. A lot of interesting insights and a learning that we'll be getting about the project, what the team is working upon, what the roadmap looks like, and a lot more in this session. But before we get started, let's first get to know, right, what UnMarshal is. Who do we have here, right, as our guest? Let's just get to know them, get to know about the project, and then we'll kickstart this AMA session for you. So today we have Manohar with us, who is the CEO and founder at UnMarshal. What is UnMarshal, you may ask? Well, UnMarshal is a multi-chain indexer for DeFi platforms, right? Sounds complicated, right? And that is why we have Manohar here with us today. So, without wasting any further time, let's get to know him and get to know what the project is all about. So, Manohar, welcome to Learn and Earn series with CoinDCX. It is a pleasure to have you here. And we are really excited to have you to learn more and more about the project, and not just the project, but to learn, get to know about you as well. So, why don't we start with a brief introduction of yours, and then we get to know about the project, Manohar.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So, hi everyone. It's great to be here. I think being an Indian entrepreneur and then talking to CoinDCX and people who are building from India, it sounds amazing. I've done few AMAs with other people, but like this feels more like home. So thanks for having me here. And just to give you a brief introduction about myself, I'm Manohar, a small town, rather a village a boy like turned engineer and then like went to worked in Bangalore for a few years and then went to Singapore where I worked for four years and then like started this thing called UnMarshal. So this is probably everyone's journey in India, like most of entrepreneurs or most of engineers' journey in India. I think that's what makes me so happy to come and talk to you guys today. To give you talk more about Unmarshal, it's a multi-chain DeFi data infrastructure. I think we started with DeFi and now like with the new website and the revamping of our vision and missions, it's going to be the data infrastructure for old blockchain, irrespective of like what it's being built into, right? So we already support close to 7 blockchains, and we support all the major blockchains, including Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and Polygon, which is one of our favorites, and also Solana recently, right? Like what we do in simple terms, it's more about bringing the blockchain data into people so that it has some value. So ultimately, everything that's being stored on blockchain now is financial data, right? Like there's so much value in it if it is put into the right business context. So that's what we do. We kind of a blockchain on its own, in a technical term, is a horrible database to query from. So it's all stored block by block and based on like a kind of smart contracts way. Like if a simple basic question anyone asks is, hey, what are the tokens I have in my wallet, and what are the transactions I've done? So this is the basic question everyone would ask, right? So it's blockchain in itself can't answer this question. That's where we come in. We kind of convert the blockchain into somewhat easily queryable database, and then like put it into the business context so that it has some meaning, like such as like wallet balances, transaction, profit and loss, and who are the top holders of a particular token, and how many people have bought or exchanged in a particular exchange, and what is the volume there, etc., right? Like so we kind of extract the insights from the blockchain data, and we serve this blockchain data to kind of businesses or developers who are building on top of blockchain. So it's predominantly a B2B product. But we also started a tool called Xscan. It's Etherscan, BSC scan, and Polygon scan, all of them put together. So if you are a DeFi investor, you can just go to xscan.io and start searching for your wallet or anything seamlessly, as easily as you do it on Google.
Interesting, Manohar. There's quite a lot of information and details that you have shared with us, and I would like to pick on one by one on all of them.
Hmm.
Uh, One of the interesting things that you mentioned about the project is what you are doing is that you're taking the blockchain data and then turning or converting it into something meaningful, like for somebody to understand it. And most people, they have this query, like they come up with this question that, okay, what this hype is all about, like around the blockchain, and what blockchain does, or why how it gets evaluated and all of that. And it's when you tell them or you try to make them understand that it's managing data, or data is being stored. But until unless that data is easily readable or understood, right, or it can be queried, uh, that data is of no use, right? The data doesn't hold any value or doesn't mean anything.
Exactly,
And that is, I
exactly.
believe, where Unmarshal comes into the picture, right? And which makes that data, picks it up, make it readable and accessible for the user, and make the most value out of it, right?
Yes, exactly. So it's more about like, I think like we are more of the infrastructure, like more of the back end of everything that's happening around the world with respect to Web3, right? So we are not maybe directly visible to the people who are just like learning about blockchain and Web3, etc. So we kind of be a part of that core infrastructure that supports everything that we have, amazing things that people are building now. It's more about like kind of comes with an extension of blockchain on the readable side. Yes, yes.
uh, great to know that. So you mentioned about your journey, as you were mentioning, right? You're working in Bangalore, then you moved to Singapore, uh, and you were working there as well. So what brought you back to India, and when you picked this project up?
Yeah. So I think pretty much, like I think that as I told you earlier, right? It's a story of everyone, most of engineers out of India, right? Like so we want to build something on our own. I think, but whole ecosystem is kind of driven in a way. It's mostly in a employee kind mindset and more of service provider mindset, right? Like all the IT companies that came in earlier, that had the mindset of okay, we're gonna do service to people outside of India. And then like later, like probably last 10, 20, 12, like 10, 15 years, people started building out of India, like the Flipkarts or the are a lot of companies that started from in Zomatos or Swiggy's, etc. Right? Like they started in India for the Indians, and then we are more of a third generation people who want to be like not work in certain companies, but like start something on our own. But like we kind of go on to a different journeys because of a lot of reasons, like raising money or kind of starting something in India is a tougher job earlier. But with the Web3, it kind of liberated everything, right? So with the way it's kind of not just brought access to the money for the retail developers, for also for entrepreneurs as well. So with the token and with the other things, it kind of we could just like launch a token and raise it from multiple people. I just go to public and ask them, okay, this is what I'm building. Okay, give me something, and then I'll start building. So that's what has liberated a lot of Indian developers to start something on our own. So my story is kind of similar in that sense. So I was working in Singapore for 4 years, and then in the side I started consulting for blockchain developers. I was not into investing, but more of developing and kind of consulting. So that kind of gave us like kind of a feed inside the ecosystem. And once I understood everything, it made no sense to work from a different country, but rather come back and start something. I was initial few days I was still working and operating from Singapore, but and then as the pandemic started and Unmarshal started growing really well, it only made sense to come back and then start something from India.
Well, it is really inspiring to hear such stories and to know that, the opportunities are not just there, but they are also growing within the Indian ecosystem when it comes to blockchain and cryptocurrencies. So thanks for sharing that with all of us. And would then really, I mean, it's when you are working on a project such as like Unmarshal, the one that you are working, right? The project is uh, along with all the features that it has, it is also, it also reflects the strength of the team which is behind it. Like, so like you, I'm pretty sure there will be some other interesting people and like interesting minds and brains which will be at work. So would you like to share some more insights about the team that's working behind the project, how that day-to-day activity may look like?
So it's a lot of fun to start with. So like everyone at Unmarshal kind of worked with each other or knew each other. It's more of a bunch of friends coming together and working on something amazing. So we trust in one common good. So that's what kind of grow helping us grow. So most of, let's say, like 70% of people are from same university, and like almost 100% of people have worked with each other before coming into Unmarshal. So that kind of gave us a very cohesive workspace to start with. So our CEO, CTO, Shiv is my classmate, and like we worked in a same company before while consulting for Gojek. So it's really fun to work with friends and like people who believe in your dreams. Yeah, so it's kind of, we are totally 17 people now, because building something like in indexing network or something like a infrastructure project like Unmarshal takes a lot of developers, and we are like close to 12 developers and like 17 in totals. But we are in the growth space. Like we achieved a lot of stuff within just a short period of time. It's just been like 9 months so far for Unmarshal, but within that, like we kind of generated a really good revenue, and also and built a lot of products. So it's a only upward journey, and like all of us at team are like really excited about what's coming next.
So here you mentioned as the the project keeps growing, and a project like Unmarshal, right, really needs a dedicated team of developers looking at it, improving the code, solving the challenges that may come across. So would like to understand from your point of view, or from you directly, as in what problem does Unmarshal is solving in the blockchain ecosystem or in the market that existing competitors haven't. Like what is the competitive advantage that Unmarshal have over its
Yeah,
competitors?
sure. So just to give a bit of context here, right? So we operate in the same space as the Graph and Covalent or Morales operates in. So we all are data providers, like more of infrastructure providers for blockchain on the reading part, right? So when I started, I think the start of Unmarshal is an interesting story. So when I was working, I know I had no idea of starting Unmarshal, right? So I was kind of consulting with this friend called Ravindra. He's a CEO of Frontier. It's another amazing Indian startup. So while consulting for them, we kind of I was trying to use these data providers. It may be Covalent or it may be Graph, but with the Graph, the problem is you can't query questions like throughout the blockchain. It's very specific to smart contracts. I think that's bit of technical, but to simplify it, like you can't build a wallet that shows all your tokens using Graph APIs. And similarly, like we tried to use a few other competitors, but it didn't like it didn't work as we expected, because this is a really complex problem to solve with. And anyone who needs blockchain data have to run their own indexers, and they have to maintain a team of 5 developers, and close to $10,000 of infrastructure costs being paid out, right? So this doesn't make sense for every company to do it. So that's where we came up with the idea of uh, building an indexer that can give data from any blockchain in any way, in any format. So we don't just give APIs, we kind of give notifications and WebSockets and a lot of stuff more on technical side. But even somebody comes up with a a requirement to get simple CSV file. Hey, I want this data, and then we will give it. So that's what kind of sets us apart. And then we started as specific to DeFi because only if you put it in a particular business context, as you told earlier, right? Like the data starts making sense. So because we saw the old blockchain with respect to DeFi, we could extract things like tokens, profit and loss, tax modules, etc. So that kind of made sense. And DeFi protocols, such as, let's say, if somebody is lending, how much money have they lended, and what was the total interest paid out, etc. So that started making sense to kind of put data into business context. So that's where we excel at, and that's where we kind of started working with a lot more developers. So when you are working with UnMarshal, you don't have to write any code. Like you write lines of code, but you kind of pretty much achieve everything from your requirements specific.
Right. And how many networks are you guys supporting? You mentioned seven earlier, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So we got grants from four blockchains to index their chain. So that's kind of gave us a validation at the starting, right? Like people do want us to solve this problem. So we kind of indexed like seven, including Ethereum, BSC, Polygon, Algorand, Zilliqa, and XTC, and even Solana very recently. And in fact, matter of fact, the COO of Polygon is one of our angel investors. So that kind of gave us the motive and the push us to see that this problem needs to be solved.
Right. So as UnMarshal, is making this data availability kind of seamless, right? Working as an indexer. So there will be data validation and node operations which will be running on your blockchain. Is that correct? Am I right to say that?
Yeah, I think you kind of predicted the future. So when we started UnMarshal, we had this confusion of running it as a pure revenue based company, and then like create rewards on the side, the utilities on the side. I think that's where we kind of missed something. But on the side, like on the tech side, like we are doing really well with the revenue we're generating and number of clients being added. But as you told, I think the future is decentralizing everything that we have. It's currently like one company running all the indexers and kind of doing everything. But like we want to make this decentralized so that the trust of the data comes into this. The whole reason of the Web3 came because there needs to be no single entity owning certain things, right? So similarly for the data we serve, currently if you just trading, it's fine. But if somebody has to make up financial decisions on top of the data we serve, it has to be validated and it has to be run by multiple people so that there's no cheating in the data we serve, right? So we started with NFT indexes, decentralizing NFT indexes, but there's a lot to come. Something on the lines of what you just said. So keep watching. I don't want to just give it away now, but it's really it's a challenging or maybe interesting next few months. So keep watching our space. So yeah, exactly what you told on the before. So there's something like that is on the line.
Well, I didn't realize that, okay, this will be a surprise update that you'll be sharing, but thank you for that. The reason being I asked this question though is because I was gonna, move into the get to know about the token in the ecosystem, in your ecosystem, in the utility part of that. And usually we see that, the tokens are a part of that network or that incentivization mechanism, which I didn't know. So I wanted to ask you about that. But yeah, so what's the utility of the token? Looks like how that what's that? Can you share some insights into that, some details about that as well?
Yeah, sure. So March will be a integral part of the ecosystem that we are building, right? Like we already have certain utilities where we kind of charging clients through the March token. So it's UnMarshal is a paid service, right? Like because we charge like every client that uses unmarshal services pay us in the marsh tokens, and with that, like, we have dedicated 60% of the tokens for the ecosystem. It's just of works on a profit sharing model, but that's not all. So we are coming up with a governance portal that people can kind of suggest things and vote on things, and then that gets implemented as the roadmap. So that's something interesting coming up. And then the major aspect or major utility of the token is to make it decentralized, and unmarshal will play a really huge role there. So all the indexers, the validators need to stake unmarshal tokens, and they will be paid through unmarshal tokens for their contribution. And the data users, they already started paying using Marsh. So we are kind of building this network like one step at a time. So first we started making clients payable, and then we made it sure that like they only pay using March, so that like there's a people habit being included in this whole ecosystem. So we'll solve this problem one at a time, but at the same time we want to make sure we generate enough demand for these APIs, so that when the decentralization actually makes sense, being run by multiple people, so that there's enough demand and enough supply. So with if we grow more demand, then we can achieve the true decentralization by running as many indexes as possible, without kind of putting a limit on number of indexes.
So collectively put together, whatever you just mentioned, which is sorry about that, so which is the growth part, the decentralization part, and incentivize the incentivization mechanism that maybe that will be upcoming in the future updates, or as and when down the road. Collectively put all this together is gonna be the roadmap in this year 2022, or there's more to it? And can you share some timelines around certain events, what may be happening? Because there was quite a lot of hype when there was the project launch, and the users or the audience would love to know that what are the things that's going to sustain that, or will be upcoming as we move along, move progress further in 2022.
Yeah, so 2022 is a make or break year for Unmarshal. So there's a lot of work we've been doing for last 6 months. So we wanted to kind of basically, I'm a tech driven or engineering turned into entrepreneurs, right? Most of things I did was like towards the product development and these things. So it was a nice lesson in whatever 2021 gave us. I think we started with a bang, and a lot of people, a lot of buzz, etc., right? So we kind of put all our focus to build the product ecosystem that kind of like makes sense for us to move faster. And with the marketing now, like 2022 will see a new phase of unmarshal. May it be marketing, or may it be the utilities for tokens, and then certain interesting things with xcan, etc., right? So everything else happens in 2022. The decentralization will happen in Q1 of 2020. So we already announced it, and we are currently testing it internally. So the testnet will launch in next month, like Feb, and then like we'll be going to mine it within like Q1 of 2022. Yes, so and then it's an exciting year for people to watch. And then we
That's
also creating a lot of utilities with the xcan that we have. So a lot of interesting features that will come into the xcan, and like most of the benefits will directly go to marsh holders.
That is really exciting to know. So this testnet will be available to like everyone and anyone to participate into, or you'll have some invite-only access or exclusive access. How does that work?
Yeah, so the testnet will only be invite only access, and then like the number of indexes that we run will be limited, because we are like kind of testing the grounds and then trying to see how this goes, right? So, but as we grow, like we announced recently announced something like founder nodes, which will be limited to start with. But as we grow, I think there'll be a lot of stuff to start with. Like I think the initial first pilot is more about limited numbers, but after that, everyone can join, run our nodes, and become a validator.
Well, thanks, Manohar, for sharing all those insights. These were some really interesting updates that you have shared about the projects and walking us through what the journey has been, what the project is all about, and what you guys are looking forward to as well. Uh, before we move forward, I just like to take a moment here for all the people who are watching and will be watching the session as well. That as as the title says of this series of this session, that it is a learn and un session, wherein yes, you are learning about UnMarshal project right from the CEO and founder Manohar himself. But at the same time, you do have an exciting and an interesting chance to win up to 300 INR worth of Marsh tokens. All that you have to do is participate in the quiz that will be going live at 8:30 p.m. today, post this AMA. The quiz will be based on whatever we and me and Manohar has discussed on this AMA session. It's going to be a very fun and light-hearted quiz, so do take that up. You will find all the details about the quiz on our social channel, so please do follow that. That will be Twitter. On the description of this video as well, which will be updated around post 8:30 p.m. once the quiz goes live. Uh, and also on our Telegram community channel as well. So do participate in that. It's an interesting opportunity for you to earn some Marsh token while getting to learn about it as well, and then get into the ecosystem, get to learn more about it, and see how the journey progress further. So now coming back to Manohar. Manohar, you started talking about your journey, right? And how I mean, what is it that motivated you, inspire you, right, to come back and kickstart things back in India, right? When you kickstarted on Marshall. So anything exclusive that you guys have planned for for the Indian region? Yeah, anything exclusive, or how it's gonna how 2022 is gonna be for the Indian region, let's say in that way.
Yeah, sure. So most of it, like it's around building a solid developer ecosystem in India. So we are already working on building a users group, like Web3 users group in Bangalore, using like offline and online events, and then that can be broadcasted across India as well. So we are trying to build a developer community around India for Web3 specifically, and India is blessed with a lot of torch bearers in Web3, right? Like may it be Sandeep from the Polygon, or all the guys at Polygon, and may it be Ravindra from Frontier, or Aniket from Bikeonomy. Like a lot of these guys have kind of started this old movement, and they are really friendly with like kind of handholding newer entrepreneurs. I think they did it with us, and like we are handholding few newer startups that are coming up, and we would love to continue this journey. So there's a lot of events being planned in and around Bangalore, and then outside, like maybe Goa and other places, to kind of kickstart this whole movement of bringing like at least as many as few thousands of startups, Web3 startups coming from India, and led by the people who I mentioned earlier. So yeah, it's an exciting journey for everyone here. And as far as like the people who are coming into Web3 as maybe investors or maybe newer developers, I think it's an exciting space to be in, and looking forward to what happens, and then like kind of from here.
Well, you just got me so excited, Manohar, that I'm really thinking of, just moving to Bangalore now and be a part of this movement on the ground level, be with you guys, be in the community, right? For the Web3, for the DeFi, for the blockchain space, and be the torchbearer there as well.
Yeah, I think it's
So,
not just Bangalore, but like throughout the India, people have offices in Delhi, Noida, and Hyderabad. Like a lot of places, like this whole movement is kind of shaping up. So as decentralized, it doesn't have to be from Bangalore. So like anywhere from India, like anywhere from our world. I think that's what this whole industry gave us a chance to kind of accessing people, or talking to people that like we thought like we would never talk to, or we would never reach. So it's a global thing that all Web3 is. So and in whatever we do, we try to make sure that like it's kind of it goes in that way. So we kind of give access to a lot of people to like reach out and then start building on our own. I think this whole ecosystem is super friendly, and you could ask anyone to introduce you to anyone. So that's what how this whole thing is going. So excited to see a lot of people coming up and building their own stuff.
Definitely. And that's the true beauty of blockchain and decentralization is that
Mm.
everyone can connect to the network, be a part of the community from wherever they are, contribute in their own way, and be the torchbearer in their own way from wherever they are. And thank you, Manohar, for joining us today and sharing all these lovely insights with us, your knowledge, your insights about the project, the vision, where you guys are headed, and all the interesting insights. We'd love to have you back on for another follow-up session to learn more about how the journey progresses down the lane and get to know more about what you guys will pick up in the future. Thanks a lot for that. We will wrap this session up now at this moment, and yeah, we'll leave our audience with the thought that do participate in the follow-up quiz that will be kickstarting at 8:30 p.m. and we'll see you in the next one. So till that,
Yeah, sure.
take care, guys.
I think just to add to it, like if people have any more questions, I think quiz is one such thing, but like I'll be available in our Twitter and Telegram. So like feel free to ask any questions, and like it may be around our product, or maybe building in Web3 in general. So looking forward for more of your questions there as well.
Sure. And yeah, just to add on to that, then, you guys can check out the community, the Twitter community, the Telegram community, and we'll make all the links available for you in the description below. So participate within the community, get to know more about it. Do ask them as many questions as you would love to get to know more about the project and get to know about the ecosystem. So thank you guys for being a part of this session, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you.
Yeah,
Take care.
thanks everyone. Thanks, Akshay.